You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflected in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflected in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything. Some people open up their eyes to see the world they know outside. I can close my eyes and see all that and way beyond. When these trials of life come heavy and these obstacles get hard, feeling like I need some answers, I just go and talk to God. I just go and talk to God when I'm looking for guidance. Need more than sight, need vision, need direction when I'm blind. Then I start that conversation with that voice I hear inside me. And that conversation starts with a voice inside that sounds just like me when I talk to God. You can see God in anything, your reflection. I can find God in anything. When I talk to God, you can see God in anything. When I talk to God, find God in anything. When I talk to God, my daddy said don't ever assume, ask questions. It's ironic it was that advice that helped the song happen. It was also that advice that led me to my life's blessings. That same advice helped me make it through life's lessons. It was that advice that separates grown-ups away from children. That advice can be the difference from knowing or just believing. It was that advice that brought the gavel down on my decisions of breaking the mental chains of these man-created religions. This faith and belief nonsense, the biggest scam ever. I hate to say it, I swear it's one hell of a mental illness. Why we do it with these religions? The fact that COVID's killing while all of these guys is missing. Peekaboos, guys playing games with you. I'ma just assume he ain't got no COVID miracles. Maybe he ran out after making the donkey talk. Or some stories about a guy moonwalking on water tides. Simply a distraction to keep you away from you and to look outside for a God when the God is inside of you. When you close your eyes at night and pray to that voice you talking to. When you ready to face the truth, you realize that that voice is you. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in.
Hey, what's up, family? Sorry, y'all. We had a few technical difficulties getting started because we are going to let's stop sharing that screen. Welcome back to another installment when the pastor has questions. And on tonight, we're going to continue. We're going to continue, and we're going to keep talking about this prophecy issue, but just so y'all know, I'm gonna do something a little different with this whole Jesus is coming back because on last week, had a friend had Quentin on, and Quentin said, "Oh, good. Chris in here early. Let's see if we can get Chris on here. Chris, what is up, bro?
Hey, what's
Can
up,
you hear me?
Brad? Can you hear me?
I hear you good. I hear you good. Hey man, what else? I'm glad you was able to join us early. What I was just getting ready to do the intro. I was gonna tell the people, do the like and the share, subscribe, and all that stuff to the YouTube. It should be in the description. But I also what I wanted to do, remember we were talking earlier, and I told you that our friend Quentin had said last week about the Matthew 16:28 verse having to do with the kingdom coming, right?
Okay.
And
Yes.
I think today, and Quentin, I know you will see this, but if you disagree, I got the video kind of queued up because I wanna play some of this and have me and you kind of go through it because we went through it quite a few minutes, so I'm gonna skip around a little bit, but I'm gonna give you enough to see where it started and where we ended, where he was saying that his understanding was that Jesus and that whole coming back thing had to do with Acts chapter 2, when the Spirit came like a sound as a rushing mighty wind, filled all the place where they were sitting, cloven tongues like as a fire sat upon each of them, began to give them utterance after, or they spake with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. I know you're probably familiar with Acts chapter 2.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah. So man, I just kind of want to let me see. I'm gonna get to that video. And what I was doing at the time is I was reviewing another Church of Christ video. So it's mainly the audio that y'all will be listening for. But I was hoping me and you could sit here tonight, do that, and then we can jump back into the information and maybe some highlights from last night and continue to press out this issue. Is that good?
Yeah, that's definitely good, bro.
Yeah, Quentin is on here. He said, I already told you my view, what y'all believe today. Quentin, I probably didn't see the comment. You're welcome to come on. Or maybe Chris, I know you and Chris talk, so maybe that's good. But Quentin, I'm not doing this to make you look bad, bro. Quentin. I want to show that we talked about this last week. You had an understanding of the text. And now, from my understanding, what I did read today, you are changing what you believed last week based on, I guess, the information that we've been able to provide. So I'm going to go ahead and cue the video up. Give me a second. All right, it's right here. I just need to share my screen. And for y'all that are coming back, good to have Chris here with us. Y'all, this really is not my main type of topic, but it's a lot to deal with here. So I'm glad we got Chris here. This is his main thing. He knows this subject in and out. So I'm glad to have my brother here with me. Let's see. Can y'all see that? All right. Can you hear me, Chris? Y'all see that?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna start because I want I think it was well, I'm gonna just let y'all listen. I'll skip around. Here we go.
When we're talking about you could talk about the prophecies, man, and all things that are contained therein.
Okay. Prophecy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But
I'm gonna
I got
back up a little bit because what I
would-
asked Quentin was
Bible
about
is
proving.
what it is.
What I asked him was about proving the Bible as accurate, or can you show us something? And he's pointing to prophecy. So apparently, if prophecy was fulfilled and it really did happen, then we should believe that the Bible came from God. All right, here we go.
Can you go look, because I don't like to assume. So tell me what you mean by that.
Okay. So the way that the Bible, when we're talking about you could talk about the prophecies, man, and all things that are contained therein.
Okay. Prophecy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But I got a prophecy I was actually coming to. But go ahead.
Yeah, and when you talk about these things and how there's harmony, and then you have things being foretold, years ahead, and these things actually happen, and then how these things came to be, man, with the Bible and the authors, then you will see that in order for this to be this way, there had to be miraculous means.
Miraculous means. Okay. I got a specific to narrow this down a little bit. I got a specific prophecy. I don't know if you're looking at. Are you looking at your screen, Quint? Are you looking at your screen? All right. Can this prophecy I got up there? Can you explain that? It says I'm gonna read it to you. Let me go to the actual tab here. Okay. I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna read a little bit. I'm in Matthew 16. But I'm going past 18 for your Church Christ quote. I'm going way past 18. I'm going down here to like 27. It says, "For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father and his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works." Verse 28 says, "Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." Now, when Jesus said this back in AD 33 or whatever it was supposed to be, he said he coming back before some of these people die, bro. That was a prophecy at that time.
I don't think that's what it says.
I just
All right.
simply just
Okay. Okay.
read what it.
Okay. 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 All right. So, um, I got another queued up point that I want to get to, but already, Chris, you can chime in at any time, bro. Just glad to have you. You the guest, so you can say whatever you need to say. But I just simply showed him that text, read it for what it is, and then there's about 20 minutes of going back and forth a little bit about it, but it's just the plain reading. At one point, he said it was figurative, and I was asking him, well, what evidence are you using, or what in the text tells you that he's speaking figuratively? And we never really got to that. So, any thoughts on this video so far?
Not really any as of yet. I know there was something I sent you in Messenger in regards to what I want to touch on as it pertains to what I think the question for this series is: Jesus coming back soon? Question mark. Which is really a question that's posed to those who are still waiting for this coming. Like, this is in their perceived future, or what they believe will transpire in their perceived future, if not any time soon. Um, and I think that question, and those that are espousing to that and that are being posed that question, if this in fact is the perspective that they're holding, would fall into the ideology of futurism. So I really wanted to kind of lay that out for those that are watching this. If you don't know what futurism is, I wanted to kind of give some insight into that. And for those that are watching this, you don't just have to take my word for it. You have to take Elijah's word for it. Go back, as I admonished yesterday, and look up these things for yourself. If you have a smartphone, Android, iPhone, this stuff is easily accessible. So no one can really give the excuse that they can't go back and see if what we're sharing through this feed is what we're telling you guys. But I don't want anyone to take from me, in me being a guest to the show, and I'm telling people just to run with what I'm saying without them having to go back and fact check for themselves. I am encouraging you to do that. So I just want to read this, Elijah, if it's okay, if I can read this.
Yeah, go ahead. And we do got one, Richie, I think his name, Richie Garfield. Richie, I sent you the link in Messenger. He is claiming that he can give us a Christian perspective on this. But go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Futurism, it is a Christian eschatological view that interprets portions of the book of Revelation, the book of Ezekiel, the book of Daniel as future events in a literal, physical, apocalyptic global context. Now, by comparison, other eschatological views interpret these passages as past events in a symbolic, historic context. Example would be preterism and historicism. If you don't know what those things are, family, Google those things and dig into what are these ideologies, what are these isms as it pertains to a view of eschatology. Now, or as present day events in a non-literal, spiritual context. And now we're going into idealism. Now, when it comes back to the futurist perspective, family, there's a lot of close association to premillennialism as well as dispensationalism. Now, I know it seems like I'm throwing out a whole lot of isms out there, but as I stated, for those that are catching this, or you go back on the replay and watch this, note these things down and go back and look into these things for yourself. Now, when it comes just to this perspective, as I stated yesterday, on this subject matter of eschatology, there's a lot of splintering, and this is very evident. But the thing I wanted to point out is this, that with each of these perspectives, there's clearly a tradition that has been erected. And I'm pretty sure for those that are watching this know what a tradition is. It is merely a belief or custom that is typically passed from one generation to the next. So what is the belief? As it relates to these various eschatological views and perspectives, that each one in these traditions or these camps are reading the same set of documents. So what is the futurist reading that the preterist is saying he's missing? What is the historicist reading that the futurist may not be made privy of? But I think where it starts to become messy for outsiders of This exchange among Christians in each of these camps is when each tradition is claimed as truth of the text that is being read. And I think in a lot of situations, what we end up having is something that can be perceived as being extremely circular in each one of these traditions. So so what is stated by the holders of the tradition is that tradition is based on the text read, and the text is pointing to the tradition. But yet you have conflict between the persons holding the traditions just as it pertains to eschatology. But even though each of these camps are reading the same set of documents. So that's something I really want to kind of go into, but also this, and I kind of shoot it at, I really want to just really deal with more of the psychological aspect of this, really touching on belief, what belief about the narrative, what one is concluding about the narrative, um, especially when one is under the persuasion that they are trusting, they have placed confidence in the words they're reading that they believe was spoken by Jesus Yeshua. They're trusting these words. This is just something I just want to put out there. If
Okay.
one is saying they're trusting the words of this Jesus, if they say they're trusting the words of this Jesus, what happens to claiming to trust in regards to these words if they consider or if they came into any realization that who the speaker, that their case is Jesus, meant for his words to be directed towards his contemporary audience? So will they
Repeat
still
that,
believe
Chris.
if what was stated or
Repeat
what
that.
they're
Repeat that. It's choppy.
so
Repeat
so
that. That's important.
so what I'm really asking is for those that say they're trusting the words of Jesus, they're trusting the words of Yeshua as they read them in their New Testament. What would happen to that claim or what they say they believe as it relates to these words if they just consider the possibility or came into the realization of that who they're reading about speaking to his contemporaries and even spoke to them as observers or the witness that we're kind of dealing with in this series. So one could say, I trust these words, but do they trust if they were to find out if he's speaking to his contemporaries and not necessarily them? Would they still believe? So those are just a few points I kind of wanted to deal with, and I'll kind of shoot it back to you.
Okay. And man, I want to thank you for that. I was putting it up. Some were probably able to hear you. I apologize, y'all, for the choppiness, but we gotta deal with our internet providers on that. But we have
It
one
is choppy.
Richie Garfield. Garfield says, or Mr. Garfield here says, if you would like a I'll just put it up on the screen. This is what he said. So, Richie, if you can hear us and you've heard what Chris said, and I want to hear your perspective because I'm gonna tell you before you speak, we are already recognizing that Christians say different things. Different denominations have a different understanding, and we got to narrow this down. Which is it? And we lost Chris for a moment. I think he's trying to get a better connection, but he'll probably come back in. Go ahead, Richie. You got the floor.
But you kind of hold the same view as him in a sense, right?
What view?
Was that Chris that was just on here?
We're just breaking it down. Me and Chris don't believe that this is inspired text and that that this stuff is correct. So we're just looking to hear your view. That is our view. Based on the evidence, and maybe we can hear what you have to say. And of course, we're gonna look at it with a critical eye.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from when I came in earlier, like you guys said something about how do you determine whether something is literal or figurative, right? And that's absolutely true. Like I believe that if you're reading a document, everybody should be able to come with the same conclusion from the document themselves. Like any well-written work, it's very comprehensive so that any reader should be able to understand it. And I believe the Bible is like that. But historically speaking, we have been holding on to historical views of the Bible, cultural views, and even when we read the Bible, we kind of like to read ourselves in the text a lot from our time period, our culture. I definitely agree with that. My perspective of the Bible is that it has to be literal and it has to be self-explanatory. I believe that if God was to, give us a text to, save mankind, you shouldn't be able to need like I mean, you need teachers. We all do need teachers, right? But it should come to the point where I don't have to like always listen to your point of view without me seeing it myself. I should be able to see it myself. So I take the Bible very literal. So back to the text where Christ said, um, you mentioned there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in
Yeah,
his kingdom.
yeah.
I think you mentioned that.
I'll bring it up so you can actually have it on the screen, and I can pull up any scriptures that you may need. So if you tell me a text, I'll try to put it on the screen for you. Let me go ahead and share the text that I was talking about. A few clicks it may take. Okay, there it is. Let me get that verse. Scroll to the bottom. All right, there it is right there. Matthew
hmm
16:28.
Yep. So I remember in my early Christian days, right? As a believer, you have to believe the Bible. So,
Mhm.
my early Christian days, I was in a sense a futurist, meaning that like I looked at the prophecies coming brand new to the faith as something that's going to happen in our lifetime. So when I came across this particular text, because I'm a believer, a young believer, my conclusion was that Christ was basically talking about immortals that would walk in the earth. Because if you look at the text, it's saying that people he's speaking to are not going to die until they see him come in his kingdom. All right. And
Right.
this is also in regards to Matthew 24 as well. When the disciples asked him, Matthew 24, if you want to pull that up.
Okay. Yeah, let me open this window here. It takes me a few clicks, but y'all bear with me because ain't like I got an engineer. It's just me. All right. Matthew 24. Any
Verse
particular
3.
verse?
Yeah,
Verse
but you could
3.
start at verse 3 first.
Okay, let me share my screen. 1 second. Share this one. Share screen. Okay, it should be up. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
Okay.
It says, he sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be?" He's talking about, the stones falling down from the temple. "And what shall be the sign of your coming and the end of the world?" So when you read this, right, you're automatically going to assume, okay, his coming, his second coming. But if you look at this from the point of view of the disciples asking, right, how could
Mhm.
they talk about a second coming when they didn't even fully understand that he was going to die? Even when Christ would mention to them, like, they're going to arrest me, do whatever they want to do to me, and I shall rise the third day. But even when it happened, they still didn't understand. So how are they asking this question as if, okay, he's going to come back, right? But if you look at it from their understanding, from the Jewish perspective, the coming of the Son of Man is a prophecy in Daniel 7, where I don't know if you remember this, because I remember you said you was.
Wait, hold up. I don't know if it's my headphones or did I lose you? Garfield, you there?
Can you hear me?
Okay, you're back. You're back. We lost you for a second. You're
Okay,
back.
okay. Yeah, so what was the last thing you heard?
You were asking about Daniel 7.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, so the question they asked them, what's the sign of your coming, right?
Okay.
So if you're looking at it from their perspective, from their cultural perspective, Daniel 7 talks about a prophecy about the Son of Man coming in the clouds. I noticed if I go to the scripture myself, I'm gonna get cut off. So I don't know if you could bring it up.
Okay, you want hold on, give me a second. I'll bring it right up. I'm gonna do it in that same tab. Okay, any particular verse?
The Son of Man.
You looking for where it says that phrase?
Yeah,
African.
Daniel 7:13. There you go.
It's probably the ancients. Oh, you said 13? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
So it says, I saw in the night sky. Let me see if I can zoom that in.
I
Yeah.
can make it a little bit bigger. Hold on. I just have to scroll back up to do it. All right, let's see if that works for y'all. All right, it's a little bit bigger. There you go.
Okay, yeah. So he said, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him before his throne. And it was given to him dominion and glory and kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. So this was always understood to be a messianic prophecy. You know, the Messiah was supposed to come and rule forever.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're saying, you know, when the sign of your coming, they're not talking about a second coming, because they didn't understand that yet, that he was supposed to die and resurrect. They're asking him, when are you going to come into your kingdom? When are you going to basically take rule over this world, basically? So that's what they're asking him there in Matthew 24. You know, what's going to be the sign of your, when shall these things be, which is destruction of the temple, the sign of your coming into your kingdom, and the end of the age. And you got to be careful now. Most Bibles say end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at that, there's
Yes.
like, in the English language, like we kind of like translate Greek word, but like we can't generalize it too much. There's actually 3 words for the world, for the word world, which is cosmos, aeon, eos, and ukaneme. And basically, those are 3 different meanings. Cosmos means the entirety, like, you know, everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Orderly arrangement.
In the arrangement. Eos means like an age. And ukuneme means basically like the Roman world, the known world. So this word they use here, the end of the world, it was actually the end of the age. Like, when is going to be the end of this age? So these are the 3 questions they're asking him. So what Christ is going to answer in the following passages now are these. He's going to answer these 3 questions: the destruction of the temple, his coming into his kingdom, and the end of the age, which is basically, you could say, the Mosaic age, and it's not supposed to come into the new age, which is the Messianic age. So that's basically when you read Matthew 24, you have to go with that understanding first. And now as you read on now, you're gonna really see when you get to like verse 20, verse 24, verse this generation shall not pass. Yeah. Yeah, verse 34. 24, verse 34. It says, this generation, verily I say to you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. And I remember when I was a futurist, I used to hear like the preterist view when he used to come to this verse, like he's saying this generation. But for you to be a futurist, you got to actually say, well, this means that generation. You have to change the word.
So
but the Greek word means this generation. So he has to be talking to these people, and these people have to see these things happen in this generation. But what made me not accept that was basically, you know, when you look at verse 30, verse 29, verse 30, immediately after tribulation, those days sun shall be dark, and moon shall give her light, and it shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and she see the Son of Man come in the clouds. And that I always took that to be referring to his second coming. It was not until I looked at historical records and seeing all the historical events from 66 AD up until 70 AD, and I'm telling you with facts that I found the exact historical event that matches everything in Matthew 24, which is what made people believe that the Gospels was written after the destruction of the temple, because the scholars back then knew that this was too accurate for it to be written before 70 AD.
Right.
In 66 AD, you have a Roman god.
Hold on, we lost you again, Rishi. We can't hear you.
Okay, maybe let me get back to the screen. So in 66 AD, right, you have a Roman governor of Syria at the time, which was Justus Florus. And if you look at the works of Josephus, he says that it was this governor that started and sparked the war between the Romans and the Jews. What happened was that there was a local synagogue where the Gentiles, I think they sacrificed a bird and put it on the altar of the synagogue. So the Jews got tight, so they went to the governor and was like, "Look, take care of this for us." And they gave them money too, but he didn't do nothing about it. So what happened was they stopped basically paying tribute to Jesus because of that. So on 66 AD, I think it was like in the springtime, he went into the temple and took, I think, 7 talents from the temple. And in that portion of the temple, Gentiles were not allowed in that part of the temple. They were not allowed in there. So he took the 7 talents, and then the Jews started mocking him. There was like, saying, oh, they started passing around like a collection plate because, they're trying, saying he was poor or whatever. And then the next day, he came in to the Jerusalem and arrested a whole bunch of Jews rebels and crucified them. So if you look at what Jesus was saying now, when you see the abomination of desolation standing where it not ought to stand,
Desolation.
let him who be in Judea run and flee. If they took his words literally, then that means it gave them 3.5 years to flee Jerusalem, because this is what started the war. Then after that, we know, look through history, then, there was a big conflict, then the war happened between them and the Jews. And then on, 70 AD, the temple was destroyed. But this is what really tipped the pie for me. Two historians, Josephus and Tacitus, they gave an account called Chariots in the Sky. And this is what they said. And I'm speaking from Tacitus, and I could basically send you the link to, to this if you want to read it for yourself. But basically, this is what he was saying: that the Jews at that time period, I think it was around like after this whole Justice for Us thing happened during the festival, that Jews of this time period, they heard, and this is what Tacitus said. He was like, I don't believe what these people are saying because they're very superstitious, but this is what the report was going on, that they heard chariots in the sky run surrounding the streets of Jerusalem. And then Josephus also recorded things happening in the temple where the temple doors were split open and a whole bunch of crazy stuff was happening. But when I looked at that chariots in the sky account, right, and this is not something that's going to be verified only by those people that saw them, but it was still reported. But when you look at that event, the chariots in the sky, and you go back to Matthew 24 now, you notice he says, after the tribulation of those days, there shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, right? And then they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds. So I was like, hold on. The sign is basically the Son of Man coming in the clouds. It's not him coming back. It's a sign they were supposed to see that signified him coming into his kingdom. That boom, Israel, you're about to get judged. You rejected your Messiah, and this is your judgment. Now, when you go to Acts now, people might shut me down like, well, what about Acts when the angel said, the way you saw Jesus believe, that's the way he shall return. But if you look at like how the prophecies of Paul and the prophecies of Jesus' prophecy was strictly for the Jews. Paul's prophecies was for the Gentiles. So when he mentioned like, at the sound of a trumpet, the dead in Christ shall rise first and we shall meet him in the air. That was basically the second coming prophecy that's still supposed to happen. But notice in Matthew 24, there was no mention of resurrection of the dead, because this was not about his second coming. It was about him coming into his kingdom.
Richie, let me ask you, because I want to make sure not only that I'm not being lost, I want to make sure those that are watching aren't lost. To sum of that up, what I hear you saying is that Tachi is some first century historians. Let's just say that first century historians. Are you saying that they wrote of an event that happened that is the fulfillment of what we're reading here in the scripture? Is that what you're saying?
So they wrote up an event that was reported by the Jews that was around that time period. So it was a report that they heard from the Jewish people that was in, that saw the event or heard people speak
Okay.
about it.
So the historians are reporting what these Jews and of that time period had said. Not
Yes.
that Thaddeus believed it, but
No.
he's just reporting this is what these people
Exactly. And Josephus
Okay.
as well. But Josephus didn't call him superstitious because he's Jewish as well. But he's reporting what people said happened.
Okay. Go. You can continue, and Chris, you can chime in also. I just want to make sure that some of the audience isn't getting lost in the awesome information that you're giving.
Yeah, I'd like some feedback too, because I don't want to keep going on. I want to make sure that I'm being clear, because I know it's a lot of new information, and I'm not really like pulling up no screenshots and everything. But
well, let me go in this, and then Chris, and you come in here with this also, because what I'm really boiling this down to is, did he come back? Well, we probably know the answer to that. Most Christians today are saying he's coming back soon. Jesus, we sang it in church and everything like that. Jesus is coming back soon. Even the text that I read, they believe that text is a prophecy of when he is to come back. So with that being said, what value is Thaddeus and Josephus giving us by reporting that, hey, y'all know that there's these people alive today or were alive at this time, and these people say that they heard some stuff in the sky. And so where are we, Richie? What are we to, how are we to take what you're giving us?
So basically, when you look at Matthew 24 is about God's judgment on Israel.
Okay. Okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
basically, that's what it's about. It's not have nothing to do with his second coming.
Okay.
And I still believe in the second. Hold on, and I still believe in a second coming. But Matthew 24 had nothing to do with the second coming.
Okay, you saying that Matthew 24, and when he's talking about the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, tribes and urban, I'm just kind of trying to skim through it.
Yeah.
The Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. He shall send his angels, blah blah, with the sound of a trumpet, shall gather together. So basically, is it your understanding? Because I don't really know much about your belief. Are you saying this already happened? Chris,
yeah, Matthew 24 was all fulfilled.
Hold on, Chris said he can't hear us. Chris, we can hear you though.
Yeah, Elijah, I can't really hear y'all that well. I may have to just watch the feed on Facebook or YouTube because my end is like extremely choppy. I can't.
Oh man. Okay. If you able, Chris, if you get it figured out, just come on back in, and we'll continue. But
Okay.
So whenever you come back in,
Okay.
So
Okay.
cause we hear you good.
All right.
But so Richie, again, going back to where you are with this text. So it is your understanding that everything that was said here already happened. So what are we looking forward to in the future? What are most Christians looking for?
Oh, we still look forward to the resurrection of the dead and the second coming. We're still looking forward to that. But and the second coming is all signaled by the resurrection of the dead. But Matthew 24 basically it had nothing to do with the second coming. It's a event that happened that Christ was talking to his disciples, and he told it to that generation, just like he said in Matthew 24, this generation shall not pass until all these things be fulfilled. So if basically these things were not fulfilled within that generation's time, then Christ is a liar. But the thing is, I'm not just saying that just to make him not a liar. I'm saying that to show that there are events in the past, even if you look back when he said you shall see signs in the heavens. 66 AD, there were so many astronomical signs. I even think Halley's Comet appeared that year. But basically, it appeared as like a sword in the sky. Like if you go and research these things, you will see a lot of crazy stuff happen before 66 AD. I mean, 66 AD to 70 AD.
Again, to the people that's watching, this isn't something that what you're saying here, I've actually never dealt with before, but I want to bring it right back to why I think we have the problems, because what you're saying and what my brother Quentin has said about these passages, and then yet you can find other Christians, and it's all different. And you stated at the beginning, we should be able to read this document and be able to get from it some understanding. Now, the way I understand what you just told me, I could not understand Matthew 24 and 31 in today's time unless I was a student of or had read what you said Tacitus and Josephus has said.
Mhm.
Now, most lay Christians don't even know those two people. How are you able to how would the Christian world today ascertain any type of truth from these scriptures without reading these passages alongside two first century historians? How would they know?
Well, you understand when you read the you automatically know that when you read in the Gospels, you read in the past event. So that when the characters in the Gospel are speaking, they're going to be talking about events that happened in their time period. Like when Jesus mentioned when the tower fell upon those people, we know that there was an event that happened in that time period. It's not a future event. So when you come to Matthew 24, if we were never indoctrinated into believing historical perspectives on Matthew 24, I think we were reading and be like, hey, what is this really talking about? And if you was to take it literally and you would say, okay, this generation shall not pass, then you should be like, oh, so he's saying this is something that happened back then. So then we should be able to go back in this time period and look back. Okay, let me see where the events line up and fulfill this prophecy by him.
He said that they would see, and in the passage that I gave, it said that they would see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. That's what Matthew 16:28 says.
Matthew 16:28.
Right. Well, here, let me bring that back up. Let me bring up Matthew. Let me share this here. Yeah. So dealing with and I'm just at this time dealing with the plain reading of the text, which I may get into something here a little bit later, because you can see there are some reference or proof text at the top of the passage that I'm sharing right now. You got Mark, you got Luke, and you got this here. So whomever put this Bible together, especially on this particular page, and you go to other Bibles, they have these same scriptures there. So they're telling us what is being spoken of in Matthew 16:28 is also being spoken of in Mark 9, Luke 9, and it's alluded to, or Second Peter refers back to it. These are all related texts. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but that's the image that we're given here. That's how it's presented. So what I was doing, and let me go ahead and put that in red so people can know. These are the words of Jesus, Matthew 16:28. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste death till they see. And I'm dealing with, we can go into the words if we like, but he says, till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And just again, to make sure I understand you, because I don't want to misunderstand. You're telling us this happened in Jesus, what Jesus said happened, and we can go back in history and pull up some first century historians that are reporting what the Jews said they heard in the sky.
No, saw. So I'm gonna actually. Can you hear me?
Okay, saw. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the account straight from Josephus. I can't find Tacitus, but I'll find it and I'll pull it up later on. But
no, that's cool because I'm gonna be doing this particular show all week. I mean, I take Wednesdays off, but I'm gonna come back and try to finish this up on Thursday if I can finish it up. So where I want to ask you is where your position at. I think we can talk more fruitfully about what you believe about these texts, or what is your position on it. Now I'm gonna tell you where I am. Already you've explained the text, and you've given me something I've never heard, so I'm just dealing with this in a fresh way.
Yeah.
All right. So you said there are two first century historians. I'm familiar with Tacitus probably more than Josephus, even though I know who he is.
Yeah.
Now, I have to depend on Tacitus and Josephus to report what these Jews say they saw, heard, or whatever. But even the person reporting to me, Tacitus and Josephus, or at least Tacitus, because he's not Jewish. But so Tacitus says, according to you, not that he believes it, but this is what these people say. And what I'm gonna say to you, Richie, is that that's no different in my understanding than what Christians are saying today. They tell us what they believe without evidence.
Yeah. I mean, well, if you look at like, all right, if the Bible is going to talk about a historical event in in prophecy sense, you can't expect the actual event to be in the Bible, because the Bible is supposed to be predictive event. And I give you an example. In Daniel, it talks about the four beasts, the four beasts that comes out, and then we're told that these beasts represent nations. And then the first beast is Babylon, the next is Persia, Medo-Persia, and you got Greece, and then you got the Roman Empire. So when you're looking at the prophetic event in the Bible, you're gonna have to use outside sources to find a historical event, then to plug them in and to see if the Bible contradicts the history or vice versa. But like I said, I believe that the Bible and history and true history don't contradict each other. I give you another example.
I believe that true history, as we're gonna find it, won't necessarily support these things. But go ahead, make your point. Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so you've got the beast and we got the nations, or even when King Herod's son died in Acts, the Bible says that an angel or something, I'm paraphrasing it, but like an angel appeared and then Herod died. And then when you look at the historical event.
Hello? We lost you again, Richie.
Can you hear me now?
You can hear me. Go back to you said the historical event you were talking about when I think
Herod
died.
Yeah, Herod's son, Herod II, or Herod. The Herod that died in Acts, not Herod the Great. Okay. So they give an account that in Acts that he died and an angel appeared. But when you look at the historical writings of how he died, it says nothing about the angel, but it did mention that a bird appeared. Or like a owl or something like that. So it's like, all right, you have to plug in. You're going to plug in the historical and the Bible. You got to say, well, that angel that was mentioned in the Bible is probably the owl. So what I'm saying is that you're finding something to plug in to reality from the Bible without trying to change reality. You know what I'm saying? So in the sense of the same thing with Matthew 24. When you're looking at this is a prophecy now, you're not going to find the event in the Bible. But if you take the prophecy and plug it into that time period, if the events line up without you even trying to change the events, you could say, like, look, this Bible could be trusted. It could be trusted. I just want to kind of read this short excerpt from what Josephus said.
Cool. Before you read that, though, here's a question for you to ponder while you're doing that. Now, we again go. I'm kind of stuck with the first century historians, Tacitus and Josephus. So here, what I'm saying is, when did Tacitus and Josephus write of these things? If my memory serves me correctly, Tacitus, he's after 100 AD, right? Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. It's like he was born in the first century, and so it's probably written, after 100. So it's like second century.
Okay. Go ahead and make your point, because I'm just letting you know that's where I am. It's not sounding much different than what we get today. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, put it this way, because I definitely understand where you're coming from. I'm not telling anyone to believe me, just for the sake of believing what I'm saying. What I'm doing is that I'm taking the literal Bible, right? I'm taking it literally. I'm not going to change it up. I'm not going to say this is figurative. I'm taking it very literal. Then I'm going to look at history. And another thing that, a lot of people, what they hate about Christians do is that, all right, they take the Bible literal, but then they want to change history just to fit the Bible, right?
Yeah, sometimes
I'm not doing that either. I'm taking the Bible literal, and I'm taking history, not changing it up. Here's what here are reports what they said. Whether you want to believe this happened or not, it was still written by someone that has no interest into writing about what superstitious things.
So, are
Yeah.
you using the first century historians as support for your position? Are you using Tacitus and Josephus as support for your position? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm basically using the events of the war from 66 AD to 70 AD
Okay.
as my support for Matthew 24. And then, like I said, I only touched the surface. Like, I didn't even go into between the meat. I went from the beginning and to the end. If I even go in between the meat, you're gonna see that I'm gonna plug in everything from Matthew 24 into historical reality. Like, for instance, I give you a quick one real quick.
Okay.
Jesus says, "Woe to those that give stuck in those days," right? And it was also reported by historians that when they surrounded Jerusalem, that means that all trade was blocked out from coming in. So they basically couldn't trade with nobody. And they started to starve in there. It was reported that the mothers had to eat their babies.
Mhm.
Woe to those who give suck in those days.
Mhm.
There's another thing too. Here's a kind of argument. He said in Matthew 24, "This gospel shall be preached into all the world, and then the end shall come." So people say, "Well, look, there you go, right there. The gospel had been preaching to all the world, right?" Remember when I told you there was 3 different Greek words for world?
Right. Mhm.
In that verse, the Greek word they use is ukoneme, and that basically means the Roman world. So if you look at what Paul did, that's what Paul did. He preached the gospel into the Roman world, and then the end came.
Okay. Let me change gears here for a minute, and where I'm gonna go with this, I think is relevant, and it is going to. You said that you take the Bible literally, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and we're talking about. Would that mean that the Bible has to be 100% correct?
Yep.
Okay. And we're talking about we're talking about Jesus coming again and whatnot. And here's my thing, Richie, is that I have some issues with trying to take the Bible literal because it's riddled with mistakes, and that's kind of where I'm doing certain things. I would assume that if you think you can take it literally, that there would be absolutely no mistakes. But I'm sure that there's different ways people rationalize that. Now, coming back to where I was in Matthew 16:28, when he's saying this, I'm looking at the reference text because a friend of mine, Quentin, who is on these threads, he was saying that when I dealt with this before, I didn't deal with the reference text, Mark 9, and Luke 9, and second Peter. So what I'm saying is those passages, if you believe that they're literally true, those passages have to also be in harmony with what we're reading here in Matthew, and they can also not contradict anywhere else because this is supposedly the word of God. I'm assuming that's what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So maybe you can clear. I'm going to ask you to let's look at something here. Because there's another view that says that Matthew 16, when Jesus come back, it was talking about the transfiguration. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You? All right. So what I want to share here, first I'm going to share Mark. And again, I'm questioning the witness. I'm questioning the Bible and its accuracy, since you say that you take this literally. Are y'all seeing Matthew? I'm sorry, are you seeing Mark? Are y'all seeing that on your screen? Okay, so Mark 9:1, it says, and he saith unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, there be some that stand here, which shall not taste of death, till they have seen the kingdom of God come with power. Now we see a slight variation in the wording. He doesn't say Son of Man in this text, but I'm assuming you also know that Mark is believed to be the first gospel that was written.
Mhm.
So I'm reading that to make sure what I'm about to read, that is talking about the same thing, or that is talking about the transfiguration. Because in verse 2, he says, and after 6 days, Jesus taketh wait, and after 6 days, Jesus taketh with him Peter and James and John, and leadeth him up to a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. And you're familiar with that whole transfiguration,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
All right. Now, is that literally true so far?
Yeah, that's a literal event that happened.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Let's
I mean, like, I mean, I'm gonna speak critically too. Like, if you reading the scripture and you read it as it is, there's no indication that it's not a literal event.
There's no indications now, but also,
Mhm,
and let me tell you where I'm going, because
mhm.
for me, it's not so much the event; it's about the accuracy of this witness. We're talking about Mark now. If Mark did write this, and we talked about Matthew, if Matthew really did write it. I don't know what you believe as far as the biblical writers, but then I want to go over to Luke, because Luke, we're talking about the synoptics, right? The
Mm-hmm.
synoptic gospels, for those who don't know, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they see things alike or the same. Now I'm going to read this passage in Luke, but I'm going to start at verse 27, showing that it's pretty much saying the same thing. So we are in the same vein, and you can see the reference text right here. Are y'all seeing that on your screen where I'm sliding my mouse across? Y'all see that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're in Luke 9:27. It says, "But I tell you of a truth, there be some standing here which shall not taste death till they see the kingdom of God." Verse 28.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to pass about in 8 days after these sayings, he took Peter and John and James and went into a mountain to pray. And as he prayed, the fashion of his
You're
countenance
still
was.
showing Mark on the screen.
I'm still. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Can y'all see Luke now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see Luke now.
Okay. All right. Let me start over. So Luke now says, and he's speaking of the same thing Mark is talking about, but Luke says, let's see. Okay, but I tell you of a truth, there be some standing here which shall not taste death till they see the kingdom of God. Going to verse 28. And it came to pass about in 8 days after these sayings, he took Peter and John and James and went up into a mountain to pray. Verse
Mm-hmm.
29. And as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistening. Would you agree so far that Luke is talking about the same thing Mark is talking about?
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
But to you and anybody watching, did you see the discrepancy?
Was it in the one said the kingdom of God and the other said the Son of Man?
The discrepancy, I don't think I can do a side by side. Let me see. No, I can't do a side by side, but what I can do is this. Let me share this screen, and I think y'all will see it. All right. Are y'all seeing Matthew 16:28?
Yes.
Are y'all
Yeah.
seeing that? Okay. I'm going to hover over this. All right. Do y'all see verse 2, Mark 9:2?
Yeah.
Now, remember, I'm questioning the witness. The witness is supposed to be Mark in the Bible. Mark tells us, and the Bible is literally true,
Mm-hmm.
after 6 days, Jesus taketh with him Peter, James, and John. Now, this is significant to me. It may not be significant to you,
Mm-hmm.
but this book is supposed to be guided by an all-powerful, all-knowing God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so but when I go to Luke and I read the same story, it says here in verse 28, and it came to pass about in 8 days
Okay.
after
So
these
between the
sayings.
6 and the 8.
Well, to some that sounds insignificant,
No,
but
no,
that's
that's no. It's a
significant to
good
me.
point. I actually so a little bit background with me. I'm actually like in the process of crowdfunding a movie where we combined all four gospels into one account, and we
Okay.
basically making a trilogy from that. And actually, I have a teaser trailer that I have on my website. But but the reason I'm saying that, to promote myself, but I have to face these things head on. These little discrepancies, because my belief is that you present in this thing, you want to present it as truth. So if you look at the one says 6 days. What was the first one? How was it written?
Okay, let me see. Let me go back to my screen because I'm not on it. Okay, Mark 9
Mhm.
and 1. Can you see it there on the screen?
Yeah.
I know it's kind of small, but I can't make that pop-up window
Mhm.
bigger than that. In verse 2 of Mark 9, and after 6 days, and then when I hover over Luke 9 in verse 28, it says, and I can't say more, but I'm just going to read it as it says. It sounds funny. And it came to pass about in 8 days after these things. So you have what is to be taken literal under the guidance of an all-knowing, all-powerful God. Yet this is a very simple mistake to make, and it doesn't scream to me divinity. This seems to me to be the fingerprint of man writing this book. And now I'm going to go all the way back and tie this to what you were telling me about the historians.
Yeah.
Tacitus is not saying he believes the Jews.
No.
He's just saying what the Jews said.
Yeah.
Josephus is reporting it, whether he believed it or not. And
he did mention, Josephus did mention that it sounds very weird. He did mention that too when he wrote about it, that it sounds weird.
Well, so he was at least skeptical.
Yeah,
of
definitely,
what they were
definitely.
saying.
Yeah.
Now these people in the first century, get with me for a moment on this. We have had phenomenon happen in the sky. We got the government telling us we have what are they calling it? They're not calling them they call them what are they calling that stuff? Unidentified aerial phenomenon or whatever. And you have a lot of people see this stuff, believers and non-believers of extraterrestrial. They'll see this stuff. So I'm just wondering, did anybody in the first century, other than the people who already believe, report this stuff as fact, that it happened, that they heard it? Because Tacitus is just telling us what other people believe. Josephus is just telling us what other people believe. And that's what I have here in the Bible and anything. You're just telling us what other people believe. And that's exactly what I'm saying can't be trusted.
Yeah. Well, in regards to that prophecy, what the Jews are saying is, but if you look at the logic of Matthew 24, the prophecy is for the Jews. And only the Jews are going to see that. So I shouldn't expect other, nations to talk about it if Jesus is saying this is for, them to see. Okay. So, basically, if I'm only getting it for the Jews, it just comes to the point whether I believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, whether we believe it or not, the fact is that it was reported, and that we can't basically dismiss that it was reported.
I agree that there's a report. I agree. I agree with you that even though I haven't read it, I can go that far with you that Tacitus says something, Josephus says something.
Yeah, cool. Definitely.
But we have already established that Tacitus and Josephus are saying that these people said. And now, if I understand you correctly, correct me if I, because I don't want to misrepresent you, but you're saying that the prophecy or whatever, it was for the Jews. Okay. All right. Now, what about those who are supposed to and I don't know what you believe. What about those who need testimony or need to be saved? Because they have to hear this message, and this message has to be convincing. And I know that in the Bible, in the New Testament, that the Hebrew writer, for instance, he says, or she, or whoever it was, they say that God had bared them witness with signs and wonders and all these different things to prove that they were from God. So how is it that the Jews get to report something, or he he comes back or whatever, just this group of people, they see it, but nobody else has any stories. And what I'm getting at with the whole UFO thing, if something is really flying up there in the sky and I go outside and the atheist goes outside and the Baptist goes out, you know, whatever we believe won't matter. If it's up there in the sky making noise or whatever, doing what it's doing, we're going to report the same thing. In your example, you're telling me that only this group of people say that they saw and heard this. And all the historians are saying, all Josephus is saying, and all Tatis is saying, hey, this is what these people are saying.
Mhm.
This is not compelling to me. I'm looking for something compelling.
Well, Matthew 24 is not something that you want to see, because it's basically Matthew 24 is a judgment on Israel. If you even look back, if you go to Matthew 23, verse 37 and 39, that's basically the last three verses of that chapter.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Let
Yeah.
me go ahead and pull it up
Mhm.
so we can all be on the same page. You said Matthew 23.
Mhm.
Okay, and which verse should we
go to? Verse 37.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Lament over Jerusalem. Okay.
Yeah, he says,
mhm.
O Jerusalem, you that killed the prophets and stoned them which sent to thee. How often would I have gathered your children together, even as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings? But you would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. For I say unto you, you shall not see me henceforth, till you shall say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. So he's pronouncing judgment upon Jerusalem. He's saying that your house is going to be left to you desolate, and you shall not see me again until you accept me as your Messiah. Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. And then you go into Matthew 24, he starts talking about, you shall not see these stones left upon another. They shall persecute you, throw in your synagogues, all this stuff. They shall surround, army shall surround you, Jerusalem. When you see these things happen, flee, all that stuff. And he's given this warning 33 years prior, to 66 AD. So this is definitely something, I wouldn't say like, all right, we should be able to see these things. Like, no, why do you want to see these things? But if you look at the historical context of the book of Revelation now, and this is where it gets interesting now. The book of Revelation, I'm like I said, I'm a partial preterist, people like labels. The book of Revelation is written before 66 AD. And if you look at why it's written.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait 1 second. You said the book of Revelation was written prior to 66 AD?
Yeah. And there's historical.
Really new. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole nother topic. And there's historical references in the book that gives you clues. But if you look at how it's written, right, it says, behold, the time is near, right? The book, I'm not going to get too much deep into it, but this is what the book of Revelation is written for, initially. Basically, Jerusalem is about to be destroyed. Here's a backdrop. Jerusalem is about to be destroyed, right? And if you look at it, Jerusalem is like what you would say the Mecca of Christianity right now. Since it's about to be destroyed, Jesus is choosing 7 churches that's close to John on the island of Patmos. Because people ask, why these 7 churches? It's a strategic thing, because Patmos is right off the shore where these 7 churches are, and what he's doing now is that he's preparing these 7 churches to continue the Christian testimony after Jerusalem is destroyed. And this is why he's preparing these churches. Like, look, clean yourself up. Yeah, I know what y'all doing. If you don't do this, I'm going to come, boom, 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 all this stuff. The letters he wrote to the churches.
Yeah.
And then you look at the other stuff like the seals and everything. All this is talking about judgment upon Israel. But like I said, I'm a partial preterist, and I believe when you get to chapter 12, that's when they start talking about future things. But like, I don't want to get into that right now because that's like, I want to kind of stay with Matthew 24.
Yeah, man, we'll connect. We're gonna have to come back and do a show on preterism.
Yeah, but my point in saying that though, is basically say what is the hope, or what do you give, people who don't see these things? What's the hope? And the hope is that, first of all, we have a God we could trust, because, everything he said in Matthew 24 came to pass. So he's serious about what he's saying. And number 2, our hope is the future resurrection of the dead. You know, so
Well,
that's basically I would tell people.
when you say that we have a God that we can trust, and this
Yeah.
again, I do appreciate what you're doing and being very well spoken and how you're doing it. That's why I'm very interested in doing a future show with you.
Mhm.
However, when you say we have a God that we can trust, I gotta come back to the apparent
Mhm.
contradiction, however small, between what appears to me to be a contradiction between Matthew 9 and Luke 9 and the discrepancy of days.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it looks like a patchwork. Now, if it's both can't be literally true, it either happened 6 days later or did it happen
Mhm.
8 days later? Both can't be true, right?
So go to the one of them, the first one.
Okay, let me bring up Mark. Well, you know what? It's easier if I just hover. Well, I'll just do it this way. I'll just go to the actual text and let me make the print a little bigger. Okay, share this tab. Okay, are we seeing Mark right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my focus is right there. I have it highlighted. The yellow, it says, and after 6 days, Jesus taketh with him Peter, James,
Yeah.
and
Okay. There you
John.
go.
Yeah.
All right. So go to the previous chapter, Mark chapter 8, the last verse.
Okay, let's go back. Let me see here. Back. All right, and you want me to come to the latter verses, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The latter verses.
All right, we are. I'm
Okay.
down there.
All right. So when they called up people unto himself, said unto him. All right. So okay, that's the context. All right. Now go to Luke now.
Okay,
Now
wait. What?
remember these words he's saying right here in Mark right now.
Where?
It's
Which
like
ones?
probably last verse. Let's say 38 for now.
Okay, let me read it
Mhm.
because some people may just be listening to this and not watching.
Yeah.
Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me. Let me say this for those listening. This is Mark 8:38.
Mhm.
Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father with the holy angels.
And
That's
then you got that. So then you go to Mark chapter 9 where he says, you know, and then after that is the 8 day, is the 6 days, right? He said.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna read it. I'm gonna read it.
Mhm.
So, and then the very next verse, because we
Mhm.
know there were no chapter and verse
Yeah. Exactly.
divisions.
Mhm.
Okay, so continuing, and he said unto them, verily I say unto you, that there be some of them that stand here which shall not taste death till they have seen the kingdom of God come with power. Verse 2. And after 6 days, Jesus taketh with him Peter and James and John, and leadeth them up into a high mountain apart by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. You
So
want me to
boom.
start?
So this one
Okay.
is saying that basically after he said, you know, seeing the kingdom of God come with power, then 6 days after. So from this we have to say boom. He said this, then 6 days after, right? Now let's go to the Luke account now.
Okay. Let me click on that. Do you want me to start in the latter verses of it?
Yeah, go to that verse first that we was talking about with the, I think that's the 9 days you said it was. What was it?
Well, Luke 9:28.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me make the print a little bigger just in case. And I'm gonna read it for those who are watching rather than for those who are listening. All right. You want me to read the verse that I'm focusing
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
or
yeah. You can read that. Mhm.
okay.
No matter of fact, go back to previous verses.
Okay, let me back up. All right. Okay, I can read from let's start at Luke 9. Let's start at about verse 24 to show that we're dealing with the same story here. So
Mhm.
Luke 9:24 says, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall find it. Luke 9:25 says, for what is a man advantage if he gain the whole world and lose himself or be cast away. Luke 9:26. For whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he shall come in his own glory and in his Father's and his holy angels. First Luke 9:27. But I tell you of a truth, there be some standing here which shall not taste death till they see the kingdom of God. And then we go to verse. Go ahead.
Yeah. So were these verses similar to the previous verses in Mark?
Absolutely. That's how I know we're talking about the same thing.
Like when you go up to verse 26.
Let me see if I can. All right, I'm in Luke. I'm gonna compare. Let's get. Well, I started in Luke 29:24. All right, I got that up. Let me go back to Mark and chapter 8. We have to go to because Mark is divided. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's about it. Let me try to match up verse for verse. Let me see. And when he called upon the people, said to them, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself, whoever shall lose. Yeah. Mark 8, 34 and 35 is basically what it says in Luke 9. Let me share. Ooh, wait. I'm doing too many screens, y'all. Bear with me. All right. Here's Mark. You seeing Mark?
Mark 8.
Okay.
No.
Mark 8, 34. Mark 8, 34, he says, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself, take up your cross. And verse 35, he says, whosoever shall save his life shall lose it. But whosoever shall lose his life will find it. Now I'm just reading quick so I can. Now when I go over here to Luke 9 and I share the tab, okay. Look at what he says in Luke 9:23. He says, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross. Verse 24, whosoever shall save his life shall lose it, but whosoever shall lose his life, he's saying the same thing. So we know we're talking about parallel text here.
Yep.
Okay, so now that we know we're talking about parallel text and that Luke and Mark are supposedly telling us about the same thing, where do you want me to go?
So now we go back to Luke now. What's that? You're in Luke right now. Luke 9.
Yeah, if I'm sharing the right screen, let me look and
you're
see
in Luke
what
9.
y'all.
Yep.
Yeah, Luke 9. Okay, where do you want me to point out? Because I'm saying that it's talking about the same thing, but there's a discrepancy. There's a mistake.
Yeah. So in Luke 9:28.
Okay, 9:28. Let's scroll down a little bit. Okay, so Luke 9:28, and it came to pass about in 8 days after these sayings, he took Peter and John and James and went up into a high mountain to pray. And as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistening. I'm saying that's speaking of the same thing Mark talks about.
So I remember when I was researching this. You know what this topic is for me? It's like, when you like do certain subjects in school and you focus on that subject, but then you move on, and then like when you go back to that subject, it's like you kind of like cloudy from your understanding of it then.
And it's a
Like,
big book. I understand that.
Yeah. So, being that, like, I came on here for Matthew 24, like, I remember, I'm going to say this though, in Luke 9, the difference is that it says it came to pass about in 8 days after these sayings. And I think the key was that when I was researching the word after these sayings, that part right there was not included in Mark.
After these sayings part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Mark says about 6 days he took Peter, but it doesn't include the after these sayings part. So you know what? I'm not gonna talk further about this one. I would say, look, I would say you not say you got me, but I'm gonna say, look, I can't answer you on this one right now.
That ain't what it's about. That ain't what it's about. What it is about is us being honest about.
I'm gonna keep it real with you.
And you're right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're being. That's why I say we need to do a show, man.
Yeah.
But I want the people to become students so that they can see, and that the Christians, whether they choose to stay in it or not, or whatever your faith is, I just want to people to recognize this stuff and what it says, because most Christians are not out there doing the level of study that you're doing. And I don't even know if you claim, are you Christian? I don't want to offend you. Are you
You know,
Christian?
yeah, I have no
Okay.
no shame with that name. Yeah.
Okay. I just want people to know what it is, be honest, and because most Christians that when I came out of church, bro, they calling me crazy and everything. These are the same people that I was teaching, and they're gonna tell me I don't know what I'm talking about now, which is really puzzling to me. But the only reason I bring that up is because we were talking tonight about the second coming, and this is relevant because anytime you're looking at a text that the individuals believe it is a perfect text, or either that it comes from a divine, perfect, and all-powerful being. Now, this could be you may have a different philosophy, but I expect the book to not have such small mistakes. And that's all I'm saying, is that if this book was written by that being, I don't think we would have such discrepancies. However, if it were written by man, and there's a lot more we could unpack later, and them sitting there and what I think was going on in the first century, and Luke even tells us, hey, a lot of people are telling stories, but I'm gonna tell the story more perfectly. So you got that whole thing going on. You got Mark being written first, and then you got Matthew coming back and correcting some of the things Mark says. And then Luke says, no. I got a good story here. I've done a thorough investigation. This is what happened. So Luke is saying, no, it was 8 days. And Mark saying, I think it was Mark, one of them was saying, Mark is saying, no, it was 6 days. I'm saying, look, we got to be careful with this Bible thing, and saying that it's perfect and saying that it comes from God. Because I don't, in my book, if you wear the title God, you don't make mistakes. In my book. Hello? Richie. I'm sorry, that thing been
Oh,
going
you
in
hear
and
me
out,
now?
man. Yeah, I
Yeah,
hear you now.
yeah.
It's
No,
been
because
going
actually,
in
when
and
you
out.
was talking, I was hearing you, but I was actually looking back at my notes of this 8 days and 6 days things. Like I said, I'm looking back to you like on another day with that, but I would say it has something to do with him telling his disciples when he's about to die that the 8 days is when it was the amount of time he told them he was about to die. But I'm not gonna speak
Okay.
further on it until I get my notes together
Yeah,
on that topic.
I'm gonna go back and look at it myself, because actually I saw that yesterday. I don't think I had never seen it before, and I noticed it yesterday. And I was telling Chris, I said I think I'll bring that up on the show
Yeah,
at some time tonight. So what I'm gonna do, man, is first of all, to those that are watching, hey man, y'all, if y'all are watching on YouTube, please go ahead and share this out. Help me build my YouTube channel. So go ahead and like and subscribe. So many people watch the videos, but I don't have a lot of subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that and hit the like button, because we got more to come. I got some big plans coming up in January, but I can't speak on it right now. And to you, Richie, thanks for coming on. We're going to get ready to shut down, but I want to say, if anybody's on, if they had any particular questions, y'all join in the chat, because the chat continues on Facebook and even on YouTube. And if you got topics, shoot them to me. But Richie, I want to get with you. Let's connect over Messenger, because I had never heard of preterists until I had already left the church. That's is still kind of a new thing to
yeah.
me. So with you being in that persuasion, I would like for you to be able to come back on here and talk to us again. I have to tell you, it does get a little hot in this kitchen sometimes, but it's
Well, I'm
all
used to the fire.
respect,
I'm
man.
used to the flame.
We
And
like to have fun.
and you're gonna get the answer to this 6 days, 8 day thing, because I actually found the answer, but I'm gonna put it together more cohesively so it don't come off like from distant thoughts. I want to get it back together from that time period when I was researching it. But you're gonna get it though.
I'll be glad to roll with that. I'll
Mhm.
definitely be glad to roll with that. So with that being said, man, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. We are hour and a half in tonight. To the people, to you, Richie, to Chris. Hey man, thank y'all for coming on. We are going to come back on Thursday and try to wrap up the whole second coming thing. That is our thing. Richie, you're welcome to come back. Chris, you know you got the invite. So to everybody that's out there, I'm gonna get ready to close out. And I just I appreciate all y'all for rocking with me. Good, Richie.
Yeah, man. Good, man. Hey, thanks for having me on the show, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, Richie. You take care, man. And y'all know how we do. We gonna close this out. Chief Kali, all the way. Let me share my screen. You can find God in anything that you reflected in. Come on, Chief. Are y'all hearing that? That ain't working. There we go. Bring that back. Bring that
You can
back.
see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflected in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflected in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflected in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflected in. Their eyes to see the world they know outside. I can close my eyes and see all that and way beyond. When these trials of life come heavy and these obstacles get hard, feeling like I need some answers, I just go and talk to God. I just go and talk to God when I'm looking for guidance. Need more than sight, need vision, need direction when I'm blinded. Then I start that conversation with that voice I hear inside me. And that conversation starts with a voice inside that sounds just like me. When I talk to God, you can see God in anything, your reflection. I can find God in anything. When I talk to God, you can see God in anything. When I talk to God, find God in anything. When I talk to God. My daddy said don't never assume, ask questions. It's ironic it was that advice that helped the song happen. It was also that advice that led me to my life's blessings. That same advice helped me make it through life's lessons. It was that advice that separates grown-ups away from children. That advice can be the difference from knowing or just believing. It was that advice that brought the gavel down on my decisions of breaking the mental chains of these man-created religions. This faith and belief, nonsense, the biggest scam ever. I hate to say it, I swear it's one hell of a mental illness. Why we do it with these religions? The fact that COVID's killing while all of these guys is missing. Peekaboos, guys playing games with you. I'ma just assume he ain't got no COVID miracles. Maybe he ran out after making the donkey talk. Or some stories about a guy walking on water tides. Simply a distraction to keep you away from you and to look outside for a God when the God is inside of you. When you close your eyes at night and pray to that voice you talking to. When you ready to face the truth, you realize that that voice is you. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in. You can see God in anything your reflections in. I can find God in anything I'm reflecting in.